Hello and welcome to Chef Carter's Cooking Corner. So today on Chef Carter's Cooking Corner, I want to make something that's similar to Hamburger Helper. So I got 1 pound of beef here. That I already put into the skillet. And then I'm going to put about half an onion, about half of a bell pepper, alright, so we're going to let this cook together until the meat is cooked. Alright, so I know people don't like the sound of metal on metal, so I'm going to go ahead and mute it at this point.
Okay, so I was going to call this Hamburger Helper, but Hamburger Helper actually has elbow macaroni in it. But with this recipe, I'm going to be putting rice, but you could put elbow macaroni with this. You could actually make some ramen noodles instead. You know, the starch is up to you, what you want to use. Um, so whatever is good, whatever seasoning you like. I'm going to be doing chili powder and steak seasoning. But whatever you like, you can put. All right, so let me go ahead and let you watch how I'm scrambling the vegetables and the meat together here.
Alright, so you may wonder why I'm chopping up these onions and peppers as I'm cooking the meat. It's because that's the way I freeze them in strips. Because if the recipe calls for strips, they're in strips. Because if you chop them up, you can't unchop them. But if the recipe calls for chopped, then you can just chop them up, either like I'm doing in the skillet or on a cutting board. Alright, so you just want like bite-sized pieces of onion and peppers. And so now that it has a good start, I'm going to go ahead and season it. And I'm going to use chili powder, so just a good amount. And if you're a type that measures, I guess about 2 teaspoons of chili powder. And then I'm going to put steak seasoning in it. And so probably about 2 teaspoons of that. And so it may seem like a lot, but there's also going to be rice going in here.
So this hamburger here is very lean, although you can see a lot of juice. That is some of the juice from the hamburger itself. Some of the juice is from the vegetables. If you use a hamburger that has a little bit more fat, like if you use 70/30 or 80/20, you may want to drain the fat out as it cooks, or after the meat gets done, drain that fat off, and then add just a little bit of water or beef broth to help it stay moist.
I got a surprise star, and that is going to be a can of tomatoes. Now you can use stewed tomatoes. You can use, I'm just using diced, but I prefer the stewed tomatoes. They seem to have more flavor, but you know what, this will work. You can also use fresh tomatoes in here. It's up to you. Alright, so we're going to heat this through. They don't need to be cooked because they're already cooked. Alright, now I'm going to add, I guess that's about 2 tablespoons to 3 tablespoons, not tablespoons, teaspoons of brown sugar. And what that's going to do is going to give it a little more rich flavor. And on top of the rich flavor, it'll also kind of, I don't know, relax that acidity of the tomato, so it won't taste as acidy. Is that a word? Acidy? That kind of sounds naughty. I see your acidity. Acidity. Sorry, y'all.
All right. So you can add whatever vegetables you like to this. You could add chopped up broccoli, a little bit of cauliflower. Instead of using rice, you can use riced cauliflower. You could serve this over baked potatoes. It's a very versatile dish. You don't even have to use hamburger. You can use whatever ground meat you like. It can be ground turkey, ground chicken, you know. It could even be textured tofu. Is that what it's called? Textured tofu? Protein, textured soy protein. Yeah, textured soy protein is what I'm thinking of.
Alright, you going to add 1 cup of rice, of cooked rice to this. Now, it could be leftover rice, or I'm using instant rice in this case. But you want to start the rice, of course, before, if you use fresh rice, start it before you cook the meat mixture. Now we're going to let this all simmer together for about 5 minutes, and then it'll be serving time.
All right, so you can see how moist the rice looks. I think this has the perfect consistency as far as moisture versus the solid. If you don't think you have enough liquid, just add a little bit of water and broth like I had said before. All right, so either water or broth, whatever you have on hand. You can even make some broth using the bouillon cubes. It's up to you. All right, so you can also put cheese on this. Can you imagine with this with cheese? Yum.
Spitting. Alright, so there we go. Doesn't that look delicious? Alright, I'm going to put this in a bowl and serve it up. Be right back. Alright, so here we go. Alright, we got our nice, I guess I can call it homemade hamburger helper. And of course, if you do, like I use like really lean ground beef, so I didn't have to drain the fat. But if you don't use very lean, you may want to consider draining that fat off before, like once you cook the meat, before continuing. Also, excuse me, before you flavor your meat, or before you serve it, you may want to test for seasoning. Okay. So I got mine just the way I like it. I don't think it needs any more salt because the tomatoes are salty, and that steak seasoning had salt in it as well. So, but you can add whatever spices and herbs that you like. Alright, well thank you for joining me for Chef Carter's Cooking Corner. Remember to like, subscribe, share. Stick around and watch more videos. And I'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.